Subcommittee. The record show everyone is here, and except for Delegate Toscana, who is, I think is down with mental health. Chairman Albo, who is not on this committee but is overseeing our work, is out in the hall to join us. We have 3 bills on our agenda, and 2 bills are brought to us by Delegate Gilbert, who has kind of been our chief scribe of many epic bills that we've had.
He owns it.
I'll say chief patron.
There you go. Yeah. All the scribing is somebody else's fault.
Okay. And we will protect the
Right.
we will protect the innocent by not mentioning their name. Doug Gilbert, you have the most senior bills. Would you like to go first?
I have to be here. Delegate Simon does not, so I'm happy to let him go
In
first.
that case, we would ask the gentleman from Falls Church to come on up and present your bill. Delegate Simon, welcome to the Ethics Subcommittee. You are here on House Bill 2380.
Yeah.
Tell us what your bill does.
This one actually should look familiar to you all. I don't know if I brought this one last year, and I had it drafted last year. Okay, I'll introduce it last year. So here's the story. It's a policy decision, I guess. I think the policy ought to be that the Ethics Council, in addition to being able to clear people of wrongdoing or give people an all clear when they have a question or approve travel expenses, ought to be able to investigate on their own motion or upon a complaint allegations that people have violated our new ethics law, our conflict of interest law. And so that's what this bill does. It adds a section, sort of a subsection of the powers and duties of the Virginia Conflict of Ethics, the Conflict of Interest Council, and says you can do investigations. It's got some provisions to prevent people playing games with this, using this for political gamesmanship. So, upon receipt of a citizen's complaint, the council has, the executive director has to conduct a preliminary inquiry to determine whether there's any merit to this at all. If it's dismissed, if it's basically a meritless complaint, then it would be dismissed, and that would be that information, that complaint, all everything about it would be not subject to discovery, not subject to FOIA, so it wouldn't get out in the press. Right now, the system we've got is that if somebody suspects that there's been a violation of FOIA, say somebody sees somebody at a Redskins game, thinks they shouldn't ought to be there, the only thing that they can really do about it right now is they just drop it onto a report. You know, they call the press and they say, hey, we see somebody at a Redskins game, we don't know who's paying for it, this is what we think is going on. So in a lot of ways, having this power within the authority, giving them the right to do these investigations, and building in the safeguards and protections so that these frivolous claims and meritless claims are kept secret is actually probably an improvement and would prevent people using the Conflict of Interest Act to play political games. It also has some things that are built into what they can do and time frame. So you can't conduct your investigation and release your report within 30 days of a nominating contest. Or 60, I think 60 or 30 days. 30 days? I think it's 60 days. With the 60 days prior to a primary election or another contest, you've got 30 days to act once you receive information that gives rise to a complaint. So, 47 states, I think, 42 states have ethics commissions that have the ability to investigate violations and encourage compliance. So we're one of a few right now that don't. This was a recommendation of the bipartisan ethics and oversight, the governor's ethics and oversight commission, which is chaired by, or co-chaired by a Republican and a Democrat, including Lieutenant Governor Bill Bowling. This was a broadly supported bipartisan recommendation to spring some more integrity of government. So I just think it's a step that I think in the past we wanted to make sure to get the council set up, have them start meeting, have them start receiving the reports, get the computer system in place. Now we all e-file records of economic interest. David hasn't.
Yes. I think it's required by law.
Right. So I understood the desire to get the thing up and running first, and let's get the real basics down before we got into this line of work. But I would suggest to the committee that the time has come that I think that the commission to take on this additional role. And I do think we've had some incidents in the past where the only option to try and get the commission to look at it is to shame somebody in the press. That's harmful, and I think that invites gamesmanship. I think having it done this way would be an improvement for us elected officials, would give some more confidence to the public that there's a body that's there to look at these things, and institutionalize the way this is handled and make it done uniformly across the Commonwealth. That's
Thank you, Dr. Simon. First, let me note one thing. When you brought the bill last year, there was a fiscal impact statement. Mr. Crowder, do we know if we have from EPB?
We do not have one for this year yet, Mr. Chairman. However, one has been submitted to DPB, and my understanding is that it was an additional 50,000 added to last year's 175.
So 225 a year.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Simon. This may be the only subcommittee in the entire House of Delegates where every person on this committee is a lawyer, so which means there will be questions. Who would have a question for Dr. Simon?
a liar or lawyer?
Just speaking of the bill.
Lawyer.
Speaking of the bill, so I think I totally agree with the motivation of this bill, which is holding folks accountable when they break the law, and all the other things that Delegate Simon enunciated. It's actually just a process question, and so there's actually a couple reasons why I opposed this last year and oppose it this year, different from the money. First one is there actually is a mechanism to hold people accountable for breaking the law besides going to the press, and that's going to law enforcement, which is who investigates, charges crimes, and tries people. If you commit a crime today, there is a body to handle that. It's called your Commonwealth's Attorney. The Attorney General's office can instigate investigations, and as we saw with Governor Bob McDonnell, the feds can also initiate investigations. And so it isn't that there isn't a way for these to be investigated. It's simply a process question. Is what's the best way to do it? The reason this isn't the best way to do this is because as created, they provide legal advice to members of the General Assembly. Members of the General Assembly can call them and ask them for formal and informal legal opinion. And you cannot create a situation where the person giving you legal advice then has to violate the ethics rules by acting adverse to you by prosecuting you. And so whether or not we should have a different investigative prosecutorial body besides Commonwealth's attorneys is a legitimate public policy debate to have. But you can't stick it in the body that provides legal advice to the people who would then be investigated. And so, frankly, I think it would be unethical for any lawyer to play that rule. I think you get disbarred if you both answered my question and then had to go to prosecute. Even if somehow you could dance around the ethics question, you would then have this sort of chilling effect on legislators who I think almost universally want to comply with the law and are using this ethics council to help with compliance. You would then say, but if I call that person, they then are going to turn around and be able to investigate me based on what I did, whether I sought informal or formal opinion. So I actually think, from a goal standpoint, I 100% agree with Delegate Simon. By way of a side note, just because you do this also is not going to stop someone from going to the press. It's not like it's either or. They'll still go to the press if they want to. I don't think it solves that problem. It's really just a question of who should be empowered. I think the Commonwealth's attorneys are trusted as elected officials of their jurisdictions and the local police to investigate and bring charges. I trust the Commonwealth's attorneys to do their jobs. If someone doesn't think the Commonwealth's attorney or the federal prosecutors are well equipped, putting in a bill to create some other investigative body would be a perfectly fine public policy decision to make. You just can't drop it in the lawyers for the people asking that advice. So, and we've been very clear in creating this that there is an attorney-client privilege when you seek a confidential opinion from those folks when they give us advice. So, anyways, again, I agree with the goals. I just don't think it's the right way to do it.
I recognize you for any response to that before I call for another member to ask the question.
So I guess, and maybe I just haven't studied enough, it seems like, I don't know, I mean, are we allowed to go to the council after we've done something that we think might be a violation and get immunity from, I mean, do they not, if I go to the council today and say, hey, I think I've committed a violation of the act, they don't turn that over to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office? I thought we used it so we don't use it, I thought we use it prospectively. We use it prospectively and retrospectively.
Yeah, I mean, I would, it's not like you can get a get-out-of-jail-free card after the fact, but certainly if somebody thought, oh man, I might not have put the right thing down on that form, I would feel that the exact person I would call would be that office, and I would say, hey, I disclosed this investment under Schedule A, should that have been B or C? And they would tell me, and then there's a procedure for amending my filings, and that's exactly what they're there for, to prospectively and retrospectively comply with the rules.
And I think you're thinking that, Dr. Simon, that in the case of local government conflicts of interest, you can get a letter from your Commonwealth attorney, and I believe that creates a safe harbor, that if you rely upon that in good faith, you've got a safe harbor. Is that correct, Mr. Cotter?
That is correct on the local level. On the state level, it would be going to the Attorney General, and on for you, you also have the standard of conduct commission.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, we can ask them
If you
for
have
a
a formal opinion right now.
They give you a formal opinion that covers you under these laws. Of course, we still have lots of other laws we have to comply with, federal and state.
Delegate Collins, question, comment?
So, what I wanted to ask the question was, I know what happens if we find someone's breaking the law. We know what happens then. So if someone's not breaking the law, but breaking an ethics rule route, what do we do now? How is the procedure now?
Mr. Cotter, you feel that?
Well, I mean, it would depend, for members of this body, both houses have an ethics advisory panel. So the House has an ethics advisory panel, and an ethics advisory panel that are made up of citizen members. The makeup varies depending on which house you're in, but generally there are a couple former members, a couple citizen members. The House has a retired judge of the court of record on theirs. And they are empowered to receive complaints against violations of the Conflicts Act against members of the General Assembly. They have the authority to investigate those complaints and then have hearings and make determinations as to whether or not there was in fact a violation, and the determinations by either panel will then be forwarded on, either depending on the nature of the violation, either forwarded on to the Attorney General, prosecution, or forwarded on to the member's house for discipline, depending on what the violation was.
Follow-up, and Uber Chairman Albo, you're on deck.
So, if we already have that in place for non-criminal activities, how does this bill? Okay, that was my question. I didn't know if there was a hole that we're trying to. Okay.
Chairman Albo.
I think Delegate Habib's point is, let's just say a delegate writes to the Ethics Council, says, can I do X? And the Ethics Council writes you back saying, well, the law is a little bit unclear on this. Here's our analysis of whether you can do it or not. And you're stupid and you do it. Then a citizen complains, and now you're in an ethics hearing, and the prosecutor says, oh, I'm going to present one of my witnesses who happens to be me. That's the problem. I think it's a very valid problem.
Any further questions?
Have you taken this to the Commonwealth Attorney Association to get their review of this and their thoughts?
No, I've not gone to VACA with this. This is, to me, it's not, I mean, it's not have to refer to the Commonwealth Attorney's office. I mean, I think the value in this is creating a body that's got some expertise in a pretty dense area of the law. And we've all said this is actually a very confusing area of the law. It's so confusing that we need to have this body to advise us about it. So I think trying to go and explain this to a Commonwealth Attorney who's got a lot of other things going on would be difficult. But.
We always recognize members of the public to speak after members have had a chance to either ask questions of the patron. Delegate, just comments.
Of these other states that have similar arrangement, do they have? It's not similar to what your bill is. Is it a separate body? So like an inspector general kind of body?
Yeah, I never. Does not investigate.
Any further?
Just a follow-up question. Yeah, part of what he's, if I understand this correctly, Delegate Simon, part of what you're trying to get at is not just criminal behavior, but also behavior that violates some ethical standards, right?
That's right. I mean, this isn't necessarily just to put people in jail, right? I mean, this is to have.
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
so if you look at line, with the lines, starting around 57, I mean 56. So at the conclusion of the hearing, the council should deliberate on the evidence to determine whether a violation of the acts has been proven by clear and convincing evidence. So it's not even a criminal standard. We're not trying to necessarily. It's not to have trials. You know, it's not a place to do that in lieu of what the Commonwealth Attorney would do, which would be to go to court where you would have a trial and you'd be held to that beyond a reasonable doubt standard. This is a place to determine there's been a standard, by clear and convincing evidence, and then they have options. I mean, within 30 days of the decision here.
I think you answered my question. I mean, it has to do with criminal standards, not just criminal standards. It has to do with ethical standards.
ethical standards, right. So it's different, it's not just about prosecuting violations, it's about determining whether violations occurred and then forwarding it on for enforcement.
Any further questions to the chief patron here, looking at members of the subcommittee? Okay, with that, appreciate members of the public coming forward. Would anyone care to address the committee in either support, opposition, or you don't know concerning the bill? Going once, going twice? The record show we've given that opportunity. Recognized delegate Hadid.
Based on the part I moved to the zoning table.
That is a non-debatable motion. Motion made and seconded. All in favor of the motion table indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Let me get the nays for the record. So we got it, okay. Staff, you got that? That is not a recorded vote, but I want to make sure that the number of voices gave rise to a majority. Thank you, Dr. Simon. Appreciate you sticking around here on a Friday afternoon.
Absolutely.
Okay, Delegate Gilbert, we have our two remaining bills. You can present them in quick order.
Yes, sir. But you have, what's the little bill that I have? What's the bill?
Little bill is the, hang on.
1854.
Yeah, no, 1854 is the big one. The little one is.
244. Okay, members of the committee,
Exemption to contract.
we have the short of these two bills. You can bring up on your iPad, House Bill 2438, conflict of interest rec contracts by legislators. Everyone have the bill? Let me ask a question, Mr. Carter. Do we have any line amendments or substitutes?
I'll do this one.
Okay. Recognize Delegate Gilbert to tell us about the bill, the short of the two.
So what this bill does is, what the problem is, as I understand it, is that there are lawyer legislators, especially those who have larger firms to which they belong, which may have an issue representing localities because of an existing prohibition on that type of relationship. And frankly, that is, I think, an unfair impediment to the ability of people to serve in this body and work in law firms that do different things and provide services, especially in smaller communities. A lot of, it's a good thing that most of our lawyer legislators are, those of us who are not solo practitioners are associated with reputable firms in their communities, especially smaller communities, and that a lot of localities look to those types of firms to secure legal services and reputable, competent legal services at that. So this solves that problem, right?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, what the point of the bill is there's a blanket prohibition on legislators having contracts with agencies of other executive, judicial branch, and local government agencies. There is an exception in the existing section if it is the transaction, the contract is the result of something that was competitive seal bidding or other processes under the Public Procurement Act that are allowed to get you out from underneath the contract. And what is missing is a direct reference to the exemptions from the Public Procurement Act. So transactions that are not actually under, you do not have to have competitive seal bidding to become the town council because that's not how legal services are contracted. So this is just bringing that in explicitly.
Yeah, and I apologize, I misspoke. It was not the lack, it wasn't that it was prohibited, it was that there was a lack of clarity in that regard. So this provides the kind of clarity that I think already represents existing practice. Go ahead.
I mean, the issue would be, if you interpret the statute wrong, it becomes one that can't be complied with because those are relationships that don't get bid. So the statute's always been interpreted to mean comply with if you're required to comply with, and that something doesn't need to be bid out, that is de facto compliance. And as we again try to tighten these things to get rid of any gray confusion that could get someone in the wrong spot, we're just clarifying what is already the practice and the interpretation, which is you either have to, if bidding is required, you have to comply with it. If bidding is not required, then it's not covered.
So, Mr. Chairman, if it's the will of the committee to move forward on this concept, Mr. Cotter advised me earlier that it would be germane to include this in the other bill that we have, which is the omnibus bill, and that we sort of just fit into the other bill, so we'll just roll it into that bill, but I just wanted to pick it up as a...
So So procedurally, Mr. Cotter, would that be creating a committee substitute of what we'll call the larger bill?
Yeah, you would roll House Bill 2438 into 1854, which is the omnibus ethics bill, and then a new substitute will be reported out.
The Will Committee will hear a motion on that after.
So moved. Second.
I have a question on this.
Yeah, but before that, let me recognize anybody for questions, anyone from the public. Legadabo.
Okay, so this is clearing up the fact, that, am I saying it right, that a member of the legislative branch, delegate or senator, could receive a public contract that is not awarded competitively with a judicial branch agency and a local government. Correct?
What it's saying is, what it's saying is, the way the law currently says, it says you can never have an executive branch arrangement. A legislative branch.
Right.
You can have executive branch under certain circumstances and a local government under certain circumstances. The way you comply with that is through compliance with the Public Procurement Act. The problem is the Public Procurement Act carves out a whole bunch of types of arrangements, and so you can't. So the way you comply with that is it's carved out already. And so this doesn't affect your ability to have a relationship with the legislative branch. What it says is compliance with the Procurement Act is equal when you're exempt from the Public Procurement Act. So this really applies to your local government, which is you're eligible to do work right now as long as it's publicly bid. The problem is for legal services, consulting services, other things, they are exempt from public bid.
Okay.
For anybody.
For example, if Delegate Collins wanted to put his hat in the ring for consideration of town attorney of the town of Middleburg in my district, which by the way there is a vacancy, if this bill would become law after July 1st, he would be able to seek that.
It clarifies that he already
I
can.
don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with judicial branch, executive branch. So you have delegates who will put things in the budget for a contract, and then the contract is let out, and then this would allow, and say the contract is a no bid competitively bid contract. It would allow the delegate then to,
Because if it's bid, it wouldn't be exempt.
if it's bid, it is, I mean, I can bid on an executive branch contract, as long as I'm competing with the public, right?
Correct.
This, and I'm not reading, but this says,
If it's competitive steel bidding, you can do it. And this basically has a provision whereby you can do it if it's exempted from that, such as the town attorney thing. Delegate Lethbridge, I think you had a question or comment?
So how would
yeah,
how would an entity created by charter of the state be affected by this? Or
Local
affected?
government?
Well, it's like a body politic corporate, like a hospital that was created by charter of the state code. I think there's only maybe one, Commonwealth, perhaps two.
But they would actually do procurement?
I don't think they're talking about it.
Some of that stuff is required to be.
There's no prohibition.
So like, say you, to change your analogy, what if you applied for, what's that regional landfill you have down in your neck of the woods, yeah.
The issue is that there isn't prohibition that applies, and that's not local government, state government, executive branch. But again, the goal here isn't to create a new carve out. The goal here is what is always understood to be the law.
This is clarifying rather than breaking any law.
Right.
In our opinion, okay?
So there is no prohibition for a.
I'm aware of. It might be somewhere else, I don't see it here. I would move that we roll this bill into the other deck.
I'm against.
Want to make sure that anyone at the table is going to get the there's a motion to do that, but I don't hear, give anyone who is here from the public a chance to comment on this bill. Okay, back to the motion. Can you repeat your motion for the record?
Roll 2438 into 1854.
And that will give us a committee substitute of the bill we're about to hear. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion? I recognize that. Any debate on the motion?
No, this is just a motion to roll it in.
It's the motion to roll it in, but I don't want to roll it in because then I have to put something into the main bill that I don't want.
All right. Sir.
All right. Aye.
So, as nays, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
No.
2 nays, chair votes aye. Is that clear enough for the record? Okay, very good. The last bill to come for this subcommittee for crossover is what Doug Gilbert referred to as his big bill, which is a House Bill 1854, which is another version of the omnibus.
Omnibus substitute.
We do have a lot of paper that is in Mr. Cotter's left hand right now. I'd be glad to recognize you, Doug, you're able to explain all pages of that bill, but you probably don't want this.
I gotta do it somehow, so,
Let's do it now. Maybe give it.
yeah, I need a copy of it.
We've got copies, if anyone has it. Copies, just everyone who needs one.
It is, I don't have a substitute line, so the lines are not right, there's a lot of
We've got copies, everyone, if you want one. This is, what is being passed out is a amendment of the nature of substitute for House Bill 1854. Did you want to describe the amendment, or just bring a motion to bring it forward?
Trying to match up the cheat sheet that I have with what I'm looking
Move
at.
substitute. Second.
Motion to bring forward the substitute, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, the amendment in the nature of substitute is before us. Doug Gilbert.
Okay, so you have the local, the legislature, and the executive, is that, those are three, so when we amend something, we amend it in three places.
Yes, the
So
lobbyists,
lobbyists, sorry,
state and local, and then the
state, local, also, gotcha. So a bunch of these are gonna go to all three of those places, and it's gonna seem like jumping around. So if everybody just follow me through the, line 120. So first of all of these things, unless otherwise stated, are recommendations of the Ethics Advisory Council, which met 4 or 5 times last year, and at their last meeting, which I served on it, adopted all these recommendations, again, all of which are kind of just cleanup stuff, except unless otherwise stated.
Or the council recommendations,
Yeah, okay, we'll get to the rest later. So line 120, adding son-in-law, daughter-in-law to the definition as it applies to the exception for the definition of gift. Line 125, adds meals received at or for meetings to the exception of the definition of gift for travel to an official meeting of an entity of which the individual is a member by virtue of his office or employment.
Okay.
Let's see.
Couple of new paragraphs.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there.
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Doug Albo.
can we slow down and tell me? Right now, we are talking about what? We're talking about
What gifts don't mean.
what gifts do not mean. Okay. And gift does not mean,
So line 125, a gift does not mean travel to an official meeting of,
or a meal that you get at the
Right,
meeting.
right.
Okay.
Again, these are all just sort of stuff we didn't think about when we did it before, kind of things that people said, hey, they're gonna give me a
For
sandwich.
example, when Delegate Collins, as your proxy, goes to the meeting of the Virginia Indigent Defense Commission, he gets a lunch. We'll make sure that's not a gift. Okay.
This is a good lunch.
All right, further, exemptions to the definition of gift. Line 1 adds to the exemption to exclude gifts given on a special occasion by an individual in a bona fide personal relationship, or when the gift is not given due to the filer's public position, and the donor is not acting as an intermediary for someone else.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Question on, so is there a definition of bona fide personal relationship in the code, or is that in the section at all?
I don't recall that being a defined term, Mr. Cotter.
Mr. Chairman, it is not a defined term. It would be in the purview of the council to give guidance as to what the term would mean.
Somebody with good bona fides.
basically, how do you put that word?
I would call it a bona fide, personal relationship.
That might be good code language.
I'm just saying.
Can't be a better way to do it. I mean, if a lobbyist you've never met comes in wants to give you a gift, I don't think you've got a bona fide personal relationship with that lobbyist. But if it's your best man in your wedding, and you're the godfather of the children, that might be different. But if he's a lobbyist, forget that prior relationship.
But that, I thought we already, that already was
What's already in there?
in there.
In terms of like real friends versus fake friends?
You're allowed to take gifts from personal friends. The definition of personal friends excludes lobbyists. Lobbyist friends will pay for the state and local, people seeking contract, people with contracts or seeking contracts. So this would be a separate category apart from the personal friend exemption.
Everybody follow that, Delgado?
A friend can never be a lobbyist or person in a state contract, okay?
But a person with a bona fide personal relationship.
So if that person is the best man at your wedding, also happens to be a lobbyist, he can give you a birthday present or a Christmas present.
Any further questions, comments on that? I'll make sure we follow this concept here with the committee, whatever we do. Okay?
I'm just a little worried about it. I mean, I think that, we're creating a new kind of subcategory of friend.
There's in the gift cap, there's the definition that you're allowed to take gifts from lobbyists, principals, or the people seeking contracts as a personal friend, and there is actually elements listed in those sections, the gift cap sections, how to inform you as to whether the person is or is not a person.
So why are we doing it differently there than we do here? What's the, how do we sync those two concepts up? That, I mean, the whole idea of where we previously did that, the whole idea of that was to say there are legitimate, despite the fact that this is a terrible, awful place where people aren't really friends, there are actually people who are actually friends, right? So, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that was the whole
yeah,
point of that, doing that previously. So this is sort of the same thing, or is the same thing. Why are we doing it differently than where it already exists, I guess, is the question. Maybe I should have paid better attention at the Ethics Council.
Yeah, because this language here on 130 to 133, or should be given to a recommendation of the Ethics Council.
I thought we didn't.
Look at me.
We looked at all that stuff, we looked at predating, we had the issue of what does Rita's friend at the birthday party do, and didn't adopt that personal friend exception before.
So the personal friend exception is where it actually tells you how to decide whether or not this is your personal friend, is in the exception to the gift cap, which is different from the definition of a gift.
Right.
So if something is.
Which makes it not even a gift as opposed to just a
Yeah,
gift.
this
So
is a
the
gift.
second
You don't have to
one,
worry about
you still have to write it.
Right, it's still a reportable event. That's whether you can take it versus whether it's capped.
Because depending on the definition of gift, you don't have to calculate, you don't write it down anywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
If it isn't a cap, then it's called a cap.
Yeah, then you're okay.
And then you
with
may
it.
get the exception to get around the cap of the $100.
But bribery is still illegal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we put that in.
I mean, no, we just have to keep saying it, because everybody, we get wrapped up in this stuff, and people think, if there's not an exception, then you can bribe people all of a sudden, which is clearly not the case, so I just wanna keep reminding everybody of that.
Doug Albo.
Can I ask Ethics Council, what is the example, without using names, but, you know, fact patterns? Why does this arise?
I can give you one. There's
Hold on.
a person on
Recognize Mr. Roger Wiley.
there is a person on the governor's staff. My wife and I have known since she was a college student. She invited us to a New Year's Eve dinner at her house. We took her a bottle of wine. I actually looked to make sure I could even take the bottle of wine, and since it was under $100, I decided I could. But this would mean that I could have taken 3 bottles of wine, I guess. So,
Involved a Boone's Farm.
I wouldn't have had to worry about the $100 limit. it also.
A nicer bottle.
Yeah, a nicer bottle of wine.
And it's limited to special occasions.
Yeah,
Just birthday or holiday. And holiday, what's the definition of holiday in the code?
State holidays.
Would it be a state holiday?
I think holiday, state law, it doesn't say state recognized holiday, we know what a birthday is, obviously.
hey,
Dr. Collins.
So, the example that I had to call and ask about is my mother is president of the association at Westminster Canterbury in Winchester, who have hired a lobbyist to lobby the House on a bill that is currently pending. So then we had Christmas, and as a good mother and a good dutiful son, we shared Christmas together and exchanged gifts. But because my mother is my mother, they felt that was a exception to the rule, but I still dealt with it in the way that we were told to do it. So that is, I think that's a unique example, but it's one that I think we need to,
That would be a bona fide personal relationship.
well, yeah, I mean, you would assume it is, but depending on what day you ask my mom.
Mr. Chairman,
Check it
so
out,
I can
though.
get my head around this. Your mother arguably is a lobbyist principal, and if she gave you a birthday present, a Christmas present worth more than, what, $50, you would have had to report it. And over 100 is illegal. This says that is not a gift.
Correct.
It's not me, meaning family member, meaning spouse.
There's already an exception.
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
But the mother would
We're
already.
really talking about the person that's not technically a family member, but has.
Like,
that family member.
there's already an exception for mother, which is what we just added,
For relative.
daughter-in-law and son-in-law
Yeah,
to,
right,
so.
right.
So in that situation, if this was a childhood friend that you've known since kindergarten,
You happen to be a lobbyist.
Mr. Wong is right on point.
Right.
It's the surrogate daughter that
Yeah.
you've known for your whole life.
Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Gilbert.
This has always been the balancing act of trying to restore public trust and not ruin perfectly normal human interaction. Like, that's been the delicate, almost impossible to legislate that in a sane way, but we're trying to get closer to sanity, so.
And this one came out of the council?
Yes.
Perfect.
Any further questions from members of the committee as to Dr. Gilbert is taking through the bill?
I'm not, I mean, that's why we're here, let's work on it. I'm not defending the will of the council, it's a separate body that doesn't have any lawmaking authority. So, if you want to flag things as we go along, or do we have to finish today?
yeah, I just flagged that, I mean, because I thought when we were doing this the year before and the year before that, we struggled with, this is what we struggled with the whole time, and we finally decided, well, if you're a lobbyist, you just can't give stuff, that's just the way it goes, even if they're your friend. That's right. Interesting that this same thing came through the back door, and the ethics
Yeah,
council
yeah.
is now struggling with it.
Yes, someone may remember that a few years ago, Congress had issued some of this, that would give it, you may notice that there was some kind of a congressional rule that said